Hey everyone, I'm back, and today I'm going to be talking about the Italian Grand Prix and the US Open tennis tournament, which both finished last Sunday. So I've left this a bit late, but as I said before, better late than never. Anyway, just want to clear up a few things before we get started. First of all, shout out to my friend, because he wanted this, for getting the Best Fresher award in his team's tech discussion. So you know who you are, shout out to you. So you happy now? Anyways, so first of all, before talking all this, I'd like to send my best wishes to Juan Manuel Correa, because even 7 days on, or even more than that at this point, after the tragic accident of Antoine Huber, who had his funeral today. So again, rest in peace. But Correa's injuries seem worse than we thought. So sadly for him, he's still in hospital fighting for his life. So I wish him all the best, and I hope he recovers as quickly as possible. Anyways, before we get into Formula 1, I'd like to discuss Formula 3, because it was quite a big accident. Really big accident on the Saturday. Where a driver by the name of Antonio Pironi, who I believe is Italian, on the exit of Parabolica. Basically, there was a sausage curb there. And you know what sausage curbs are like. I've been saying for years, we need to get rid of them because they're too dangerous. He went a bit wide on the exit, went over that curb, and had the biggest aeroplane accident since Mark Webber in 2010 Valencia. Unbelievable crash. It looked like something out of Codemasters F1 games with their broken physics, but he had an almighty crash. Probably launched 5 meters in the air. I gotta say, I'm really happy that he was able to walk away from that crash, and he's had a concussion and a bit of a fracture, but I think they're relatively minor injuries and he should be fine. So again, best wishes to him, to Pironi and to Correa, and I hope they recover completely from this. So on to the Formula 1 now, and I've got to talk about qualifying, because since I started doing this podcast, we probably had the most eventful qualifying session so far. Not so much in Q1 and Q2, but in Q3, which, I've got to say, a bit of a embarrassing clusterfuck really, because, well, I think Kimi's crash in Q3 started all this, because I'm sure a lot of people were doing their laps, and then Kimi crashed on the exit of Parabolica, so he was out before even doing one lap, so restart. Actually, no, he had a penalty because he damaged his gearbox in that crash. He restarted last, something like that. So a lot of the drivers were kind of leaving it a bit late in the second half of that session, and it all kind of kicked off with Nico Hülkenberg, who was the first driver to leave the pits. Lance Stroll was behind him. Hülkenberg, and I'm sure he did this on purpose, cut the first chicane, went through those polystyrene, went around those polystyrene things. And he did that because he didn't want to be in front. He took that chicane really slowly. He wanted Stroll to get ahead of him. Stroll saw this, so he did turn one really slowly as well. So Hulkenberg still rejoined in front of him. And that kind of started all this mess because all the drivers behind were going really slowly. And they didn't want to be in front either. And just embarrassing, really. Really embarrassing. Because with this particular race at Monza, which is famously known as the Temple of Speed, not for no reason, because 80% of the lap is on full throttle, and it's got about 3 big straights, not many corners. So slipstream is more important here than in any other track on the calendar. So it was necessary. Because of how powerful the slipstream is, as I said, nobody wanted to be in the front, because if you're in the front of the train, you're the only driver who won't be getting slipstream, and slipstream is worth a lot on this track. So Hulkenberg didn't want to be first in the train, that's why he went slow. Stroll didn't want to be first in the train, that's why he went slow. Everyone else didn't want to be first, so they were all going slow. And when they came out of the Parabolica in the last corner, there was about 3 seconds to go. Only 2 drivers made it across the line. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz made it across the line. And every other driver crossed the checkered flag before doing a lap. Embarrassing, isn't it? Remember all the memes that came out after that incident? You know, the F1 shitty flute theme tune, which is pretty funny actually. And lots of people making fun of that, rightly so. It was farcical. Leclerc and Sainz, the only people to be able to do 2 laps. Really, but some of the drivers didn't even manage to do 1 lap. And so after all that happened, we were expecting quite a few penalties to come out of that qualifying session. Mainly penalties for Hulkenberg for starting this whole mess. Stroll for continuing with it. Those 2, I think, were the 2 key players which triggered all that mess. So I was expecting penalties for them. I was also expecting penalties for Sebastian Vettel, because on his fastest lap he had all 4 wheels off the track on the exit Parabolica. So I was expecting a penalty for that, and I was also expecting a penalty for Bottas for crossing the checkered flag after the red flag. So I was expecting both of their times to be deleted, and for whatever reason they weren't. And I don't really understand that, because they both clearly broke the rules. If you have all 4 wheels off the track on the exit Parabolica, then your lap time should be deleted. That's the rules. If you cross the checkered flag after the red flag is out, your lap time shouldn't count. That's the rules. But for whatever reason they got away with it. And I don't really understand that, but so Vettel wasn't penalised for that. Bottas wasn't penalised, Hulkenberg wasn't penalised, and Stroll wasn't penalised, so that was that. So your top 4 was Leclerc, getting his 4th pole position of the season, and he equals the tally for most poles of this season, alongside the 2 Mercedes drivers with 4. Gotta say, good result for the Tifosi. Obviously their home race at the Italian Grand Prix. So Charles Leclerc getting that pole, good result for them. Second place was Lewis Hamilton in Mercedes. Third place was Valtteri Bottas in Mercedes. And Sebastian Vettel, who I don't think was very happy with that 4th position because it should have been higher than that. Because apparently Leclerc was meant to give Vettel a tow. He didn't give Vettel a tow, so Vettel lost a crucial amount of time. He should have been on the front row with Leclerc, but he wasn't. So he started second. So I guess that was his chances over already, because you really need track position at Monza, especially because Mercedes are quick in a straight line, Ferrari's quick in a straight line. You're going to struggle to catch up with these people, even with DRS. So Vettel was screwed. So yeah, that's your top 4. Verstappen had a penalty, so he started last. So we were all expecting a pretty entertaining race from him. And he did well, but I'll come on to him later on. Did make an error there. So I think that's the whole quality incident talked about, with all the crazy stuff that happened. The drivers slowing down and not making it to the checkered flag. 8 out of 10 drivers didn't make it. We could say 7 out of 9, because Kimi shouldn't really count, should he? Yeah. So I guess we'll talk about the race then. So I've got to say again, congratulations to Charles Leclerc for winning the Italian Grand Prix for Ferrari on his first attempt. Winning the Italian Grand Prix is something that Vettel so far hasn't managed to do. We'll come on to him later. He had an eventful race. But yeah, congratulations to Charles. He really deserved that win. He drove really well. Defended very nicely against both Mercedes. He was under pressure pretty much the whole race. Firstly from Hamilton and then from Bottas towards the end. So for a young 21-year-old man driving Ferrari in his first season, with all the Italian pressure surrounding him, to do that on his first attempt is a really, really good result. So well done to him for that. And he was one of the best drivers of the whole weekend, really. So props to him. Valtteri Bottas, I guess, the second stint, kind of looking after his tyres more than Hamilton, benefited him, because he inherited second place, because he was kind of sitting calmly in that third place for most of the race. Didn't really push too much. It was Hamilton, the guy initially attacking Leclerc. But yeah, Bottas, cool head, decent result, finished second, did the job for Mercedes. Third place, Lewis Hamilton. At some point it looked like he was going to win that race. He was all over Charles Leclerc for some of that race, actually, because he was really attacking Leclerc. He was putting really a lot of pressure on Leclerc. Leclerc even made a mistake at one point, cutting the first chicane, but he managed to hold on to that position just about. But with all that battling, Lewis Hamilton wore out his tyres. So maybe he should have been a bit more patient, perhaps, with trying to pass Leclerc. And I gotta say, that Ferrari in a straight line is something else. Hamilton with DRS and slipstream was still losing time on the straight. He was not gaining on that straight. Leclerc, without DRS, without slipstream, was pulling away. That Ferrari engine is a monster, I have to say. And I think that really helped Leclerc win that race. So the two Mercedes finishing behind Leclerc. And I have to say, Leclerc's win is the first win for Ferrari actually in 9 years. They've struggled a lot this decade at Monza. Hasn't been a good decade for them, really, especially at their home track. And the last time Ferrari won at Monza was 2010. And Charles Leclerc was only 12 years old. Wow. So yeah, that's the top 3 for you. And Hamilton, #blessed weekend for him. After his pit stop, his third pit stop, which he had to do, or his second one, I can't actually remember. He had fresh tyres, and he duly took his 44th fastest lap of his career. So #blessed, many blessings to him. Moves within just 2 of Kimi Raikkonen's total of 46 fastest laps. So Hamilton can get second place on the fastest laps list by the end of the season. He has a chance to do that. Danny Ricciardo, really good result for Renault overall. They've had a really miserable season, Renault. Before the start of the season, they said they were going to chance for podiums. They haven't had a single one. In fact, they're not even best of the rest in the championship. They're quite a way back from McLaren, well, they were until this race. But yeah, they've had a pretty rotten season, and Renault needed this. They had a really, really bad season, and this result was really impressive for them. They beat both Red Bulls, maybe not entirely on merit, but they still did. And clearly best of the rest for the midfield teams. So Ricciardo comes home fourth, his best result of the season. Not quite the podium, but nearly. And Nico Hülkenberg finishing just behind his teammate in fifth. So a big haul of points to Renault, and they jump from, I believe, 6th position in this championship, or 7th, to 5th. And it looked like McLaren had best of the rest wrapped up. With that 4th place, looked like they were going to win it easily. But they've got a race on their hands now, because Renault is less than 20 points behind them. So 2 more bad races for McLaren, 2 great races for Renault, and they could find themselves 4th. So McLaren need to be careful. So that's Renault covered with their best result of the season. Alex Albon, solid race for Red Bull, again showing that he has more balls than Pierre Gasly. Did a really nice move on Carlos Sainz early on. Dive bombed into the second chicane, Ricciardo-esque. And unfortunately went a little bit too deep into the corner. Sainz got the better exit. And they had a bit of a battle which maybe affected Albon's race, the rest of his race, into the first Lesmo. Sainz was on the inside. Albon tried to hang it around the outside, but Sainz pushed him off. And Albon went into the gravel trap, but he was able to recover and finished 6th. So without that incident, it could have been higher. He could have beaten at least one of the Renaults, but it wasn't to be. So he finished 6th, sorry. Perez, really impressive performance by him. He started near the back, I think it was around 18th. And I think the virtual safety car helped him a lot with the Carlos Sainz incident, the Danny Kvyat incidents, with the VSC helping his strategy, so he was able to gain a lot of ground from that. But still, 18th to 7th, that's a really, really good result. And once again, Racing Point kind of getting their season back on track, I think. And they could have done even better today. I'll comment to that later on. But yeah, Sergio Perez, having gone maybe about 11 races or so without scoring a single point, has got 2 really good results in a row. So good for Sergio there. Max Verstappen started last, and a bit of a eventful race, you could say, for him, because on lap 1 in turn 1 he basically kind of lost his front wing. I don't exactly know what happened there, because at one point he was braking normally for the first chicane and then kind of just ran into the back of the car in front. I don't know if he was hit by someone behind him. Unfortunately, there's no onboard replay for the car behind Max, but yeah, once again, 2 races in a row where he's had a turn 1 crash. Not necessarily his fault. Maybe he could be blamed more for Italy than for Spa, but I don't know. I can't really say, because we didn't have all the footage available to make a sensible conclusion. So Verstappen lost his front wing on lap 1, had to pit. Was maybe about 20 seconds behind 19th position, but I've got to say, Max Verstappen had blistering pace the whole race. From coming from last to 8th position, I think is a really good result for him. But he could have been 7th, because he was struggling to pass Perez. Unfortunately, the TB director was a bit of an idiot this race and didn't show a single second of the Verstappen-Perez battle, so we had no idea what was going on between those two. But I saw the onboard footage later on, and it showed that Verstappen made several attempts to pass Perez into turn 1. All of them were unsuccessful. So a bit unfortunate for him on that point. But still a decent result for him to finish 8th. I've got to say, it's redemption, although not quite redemption, but kind of. For Antonio Giovinazzi, best result of the season with P9, 2 points there. After what happened at Spa, which was a big disappointment for him. Can't afford to be doing that. But unfortunately, he did that. He crashed at Spa on the last lap, which he really should not be doing. He really shouldn't have done that. You know, no one was ahead of him really. He was far behind the car ahead. No one was really behind him. The car behind him was far behind him. So he had clear air. He didn't need to push, but he did. And he crashed at Spa. And he didn't need that. That was not good for him. Really poor. But he bounced back. He bounced back at Italy, scoring 9th position. So Italy's had a good day today, I guess. Italian team winning. Italian driver getting best result of the season with 9th. So good result for Giovinazzi, and hopefully that'll give him a bit more confidence because he needs to pick up. He needs to perform. You know, people keep going on about Pierre Gasly doing badly. People keep going on about Romain Grosjean doing badly. But Giovinazzi, I would say, is being just as bad as those two. But his bad performances have gone under the radar. Because, well, I don't really know why, actually. But he hasn't been good. So he needs to do better than that. And he did today. And rounding up the points, Lando Norris finally getting a bit of good luck because he's been really unlucky this season. Actually, he's lost a lot of points and he should be right up there with Carlos Sainz if the luck even itself out. But yeah, I'm really happy he scored this point because he's had some rotten luck. So 10th place for Lando Norris, rounding out the points. And could have been a much better race for McLaren. Could be a much better season for McLaren. And they're already having a great season, which shows you that it's encouraging. They've lost so many points and they still have a lot for a midfield team. They're still best of the rest. You know, they should have 120 points right now. They should have a lot more. But they've thrown a lot away. Because of maybe bad reliability or some errors from their drivers perhaps. But yeah, they're doing well and they could do even better. So encouraging for them. But Renault's catching up to them. They need to stop doing these errors. And these reliability, bad reliability. They need to get themselves together and start performing in every single race. Who knows, this 1 point by Lando could make the difference towards the end. But yeah, McLaren, really strong season, but they need to pick it up. Pierre Gasly, 11th. Feel a bit sorry for him actually because he could have done better today. And his result of 11th is not his fault because, well, this incident with Vettel and Stroll, Gasly got caught out unfortunately. Stroll coming back onto the track kind of pushed Gasly into the gravel. So unfortunately, his race kind of got ruined by that. He lost quite a lot of ground with that incident. So it was 11th in the end for Pierre Gasly. So I feel a bit bad for him. He did alright this race. Just with Stroll's unsafe rejoin onto the track, pushing him off into the gravel, costed him today. Lance Stroll, he could have had a much better race. In fact, he could have beaten Perez today. Perez took all the glory for Racing Point, but it could have been Stroll's glory. It should have been. But I guess this ties in with Sebastian Vettel. What to say? What a brain-dead move by him in front of the Tifosi at Monza. Seriously, one of the most ridiculous pieces of driving I've ever seen by a multiple world champion. Vettel's a 4-time world champion. He really should be expecting better from him. But, well, he made a mistake in Ascari. He spun, which is a pretty common thing to see nowadays, actually, with his various spins and crashes over the last season and a half. But hey, he made an honest mistake at Ascari. that would be a big deal on its own, but at least forgivable. But what he did after that is completely stupid. The Ascari chicane where he spun it's a fast corner. Cars are coming at you quite quickly. And after Vettel's spin, he could have waited, rejoined safely, perhaps taken to the grass to rejoin safely. What does he do instead? Drives all the way back onto the track when there's cars coming past. And there could have been a massive T-bone accident. Lance Stroll could have crashed into the side of his car. We could have had another fatality after what happened with Hubert last weekend. So I gotta say, Sebastian Vettel, what the fuck are you doing, mate? What the hell was that? Absolutely brain dead driving last weekend. I don't know what he was thinking. He should have been a bit more patient there. And Charles Leclerc, the 21-year-old second season rookie to Ferrari, is beating him. He's actually beating him. The experienced full-time world champion, 52 race wins, is being beaten by 21-year-old Charles Leclerc. And Charles Leclerc winning for Ferrari at Monza, Vettel finishing 13th at Monza. That's going to raise some questions. Charles Leclerc could be the Tifosi's new golden boy, and Vettel could become another Kimi Raikkonen, become a number 2 driver for Ferrari. It's possible. At one point, pretty funny actually. There's a camera shot of Leclerc fighting with, I think, either Hamilton or Bottas, but he was fighting with a Mercedes. And the other Ferrari behind was fighting with a Williams. That's going to hurt Vettel. He's going to be hurting inside right now. That was bad. It was bad from Stroll, but it was even worse from Vettel, I'd say. George Russell, I mean, what do I have to say? The Williams car is shit. I think he can be proud of his race though, fighting a Ferrari for an actual position. This wasn't being lapped, he was actually fighting him. Made a decent meal out of it. P14, not bad, I'd say. So yeah, fair play. Fair play to George. And yeah, he's going to be with Williams for at least another season. So his seat is safe. Although who else would want that Williams seat, to be fair? No one. And behind him is Kimi Raikkonen. Gotta say, the Q3 crash was pretty poor. In fact, Raikkonen looked pretty edgy the whole weekend, really. Qualifying was a very unstable session for him. Going through the gravel trap in Q2 and then Q3 crashing, which kind of ruined the rest of the session and triggered all that mess. So his crash in Q3 and the gearbox penalty that he had to take because of that crash, the gearbox being damaged, and his team putting him on the wrong tyres, don't know how that happened. So 3 setbacks, ruined his race really, before it even started. So he never really recovered from that. So 15th for Raikkonen, pretty dismal weekend, probably the worst weekend of his season, I'd say. Poor driving and poor team management. So he comes home in 15th. Romain Grosjean. I mean, I don't have anything to say about Haas these days, although I do have one big piece of news outside of their race weekends. But yeah, inside of their race weekends, I've got nothing to say about Haas. Their race pace is shit. Their drivers are shit. Everything's shit. Everything is shit for Haas. Their worst season so far. Easily. I have nothing to say about them. Nothing. Nothing at all. So yeah, Grosjean came 16th. Magnussen didn't even finish. I care so little about Haas now that I just can't remember what happened to Magnussen and why he retired. He just retired in 18th. Oh, I ignored Kubica as well. Well, beaten by Russell again. His car is shit. In fact, bit of story about Kubica. Been hearing some rumours lately that his seat could be taken by Nicholas Latifi, who is currently second in the driver's standings in the Formula 2 Championship this year. And I gotta say, I'm underwhelmed by that. I mean, Robert Kubica, who has lost a part of one of his arms, who's having his first season in 8 years, obviously he's not going to be that good, but Nicholas Latifi was never good. At least Kubica had potential early in his career. Latifi was never good. And he's only second right now because he's been in Formula 2 for 4 years. He's got the experience in that championship. No one else really has, apart from the guy ahead of him, Nick De Vries. So Latifi's not really that good. In fact, I'd say Latifi's even worse than Jody and Palmer. Even worse than Rio Haryanto. He's just crap. So Williams are basically replacing an injured paid driver with a shitty paid driver. That's what they've done now. If they are going to pull ahead with that move. I don't know if they are. It's not confirmed yet. I've just read some rumours, that's it. So you've talked about Kubica, you've talked about Magnussen, now Danny Kvyat. Bit unlucky for him actually. He was on for a pretty decent result, I think. He was running solidly in the points again. He had a really good run of form. Unfortunately, this race he retired because of a mechanical failure on his car, which triggered the virtual safety car, which changed a few people's races for the better, I'd say, in terms of strategy. Unfortunately for Kvyat, he was on a real good run of form ever since Germany, consistently scoring points, but not this time. So commiserations to him. And commiserations to Carlos Sainz. I think Alex Albon would call it karma, but I call it bad luck. After the tangle with Albon, apart from that, he was having a pretty event-free race until McLaren fucked up his pit stop. So he was on for a really solid points result. McLaren screwed him over with a pit stop. He parked his car and he exited the pits and he retired. So that rounds up the top 20. So we've discussed the sad events of the Formula 2 crash last week, and of which we are still paying the price, or the weekend before that rather, with Juan Manuel Correa and Antonio Peroni walking away from the scariest Formula 3 crash we've seen ever. Don't know how he walked away from that. Hubert's funeral today. All the Formula 2 drivers paying respects. The sausage curbs, which really need some looking at, they need some attention because they are dangerous. It's not the first time we've seen sausage curbs causing aeroplane accidents. You look at the very first Formula E race in 2014 where Nico Prost crashed into Nick Heidfeld and Heidfeld went over the sausage curb and launched into the air. Big crash, but he survived. Discussed the crazy qualifying incidents, all the expectation of penalties which never happened. Thank you, FIA. And then also the race and the varying positivity and negativity with all the drivers. And now Haas, I mentioned them before. I did say nothing really to talk about during their races, but outside of the races, it was only a matter of time, wasn't it, before Haas and Rich Energy split. And it happened today. Haas and Rich Energy are together no more. And I'm relieved. Don't really know what Haas were getting into with this deal. I didn't think it would be a success. I did think it was going to be a mess all round, really. Pretty embarrassing, actually. I never thought it was a good idea. But they decided to go with it anyway. William Story, who initially was the Rich Energy CEO and then got sacked and then started posting shit on the Twitter account and everyone was laughing, and then he became CEO again recently. The whole Rich Energy company just looked a complete scam, a complete mess. Constant embarrassments on their Twitter feeds. But the day was inevitable. And so Haas, Rich Energy have announced the termination of their partnership. Good riddance to Rich Energy, and I hope Haas improves from now on in, because it must have affected the team. I don't think Gunther Steiner wants to be putting up with some incompetent idiot, William Story, who looks completely homeless, by the way. I don't think they want to pull up with him and his antics anymore. So he's out. Rich Energy out. And they'll just be known as Haas F1 team from now onwards again. They will retain their black and gold livery, which I have to say is pretty underwhelming. I don't like the livery. It's boring. Although I do prefer it to their previous liveries. They were all shit, really. This one's just boring. It's basically a discount watered down JPS Lotus livery. Think of it that way. So yeah, that's Haas and Rich Energy parting ways. Nico Rosberg, he's been in a bit of hot water recently. He made a few critical comments of Max Verstappen last weekend. And I do think he went overboard with that. And Verstappen realised this and took a dig at Rosberg, called him the new Jacques Villeneuve. Lewis Hamilton saw that, read the article, posted it on his Instagram and just kind of made fun. Said, it cracked me up. It probably did. I don't think Hamilton and Rosberg's relationship is completely mended yet. So I think that's all of Formula One discussed. And now I'm going to talk about the US Open. What to say? Didn't get any sleep on this Sunday, going into Monday. Rafael Nadal won his 19th Grand Slam title. He beat Daniil Medvedev in 5 sets, and his 19th Grand Slam brings him within just one of Roger Federer's tally of 20, and that is the all-time record at the moment. So Nadal making a bit of history, the whole of the big three making history. But I gotta say, I expected more of a one-sided match than that, actually. I expected Nadal to win that in 3 sets easily. I really did. It was an easy 3-set win, but it wasn't. Medvedev lost the first 2 sets. We were all thinking, oh, Nadal's got this one in the bag easily. I'm just going to go to bed. I didn't go to bed. But I still thought it was going to be over quickly, and it wasn't. Medvedev showed resilience, courage, and he really fought back, and I'm really, really sad for him that he lost. Really sad for him. But someone had to lose. Someone had to lose. And in the end, Nadal, with all his experience and all his championships, showing how good he is once again. Nadal is a fighter. He really is a fighter. I think Federer is overall the better player than Nadal. But I think Nadal is a bigger fighter than Federer. I think Nadal is the biggest fighter out of any tennis player ever. They don't call him the bull, the matador for nothing. He's a warrior. I wouldn't say he's as mentally strong as Djokovic, but he's more of a fighter than Djokovic or Federer. And I really hope he wins the Australian Open. It's a completely double slam in tennis. He'd be the only one of the big three to manage that, and I hope he does. And a bit of depressing news for me. Bianca Andreescu, who is just 19 years of age, my age